My name is Diana Lopez, and this is Medusa's Awakening Podcast. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Medusa's Awakening Podcast. Today, I have a special guest with me. Her name is Vanessa Romo-Lopez with Clean Slate Tattoo Removal Program. Now, a little bit about Vanessa. She is a very dedicated professional with over 12 years of experience working with gang impacted youth. She is passionate about fostering positive change. Vanessa has developed expertise in mentoring, supporting at risk individuals, and creating safe environments that empower youth to overcome challenges and build brighter futures through innovative programming and compassionate guidance. Vanessa has made a lasting impact on countless lives, promoting resilience, education, and community involvement. Welcome, Vanessa. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you for the invite. Excited.
Yeah, yeah. It's so that the listeners understand. I was put in front of you via this blast email that came out. I think it was from the Service Provider Network out in San Jose, of you needing people to come in and do these specific cohorts, which we will definitely get into. But before we do all that, I guess let's talk a little bit about you. Like what brought you here? Like what brought you to do this type of work?
Yeah, thank you, Diana. Well, I myself grew up as a, I guess, quote unquote, troubled youth
Hmm.
and started attending these type of programs around the age of 15, I believe. I was
Right.
approached by some case managers from an organization, basically that worked in gang prevention to tell me, hey, we think you could benefit from our services. We see potential in you. And, so they
Wow.
kind of led me down a path that I didn't know was available to me and
Mm.
basically gave me options. So I kind of lead by example. So any youth that I come across, I'm like, and that's on that. Like, where you're at, I was at, but where
Mhm.
you see me, you can see yourself and even higher. Be my boss, you know? I'm like,
Right.
so I think that's a really relatability aspect I have with the youth that I serve as well. So
Hmm.
um
Yeah.
it just helped me a lot. Um and like I was telling you, Diana, I'm an open book. Um at the age of 15,
Hmm.
I really needed guidance in my life, so programs like this really came to me. I started up my first relationship. I had a boyfriend who
Hmm.
was very gang involved, not so much impacted, very intentional gang member. And he was tragically killed, or he was stabbed to death. And I remember that being a big turning point. That I was like, oh my gosh, it's not just fun and games. Like people die, like, I was like very naive, very so that was through grievance counseling and stuff at school. Like I attend school here in San Jose. Different organizations reached out to me and I don't want to hear it. I was like, okay, whatever, how can these people help me? I was very
Right.
track minded. So um I think that also helps me with the youth that I serve now. So it's like whenever you're ready. I wasn't ready at a time that um, I was grieving, I was upset, I was angry, I was, going through all the stages. So I think now I'm like I meet them where they're at, and I'm like I'm not here to persuade you or to make you do anything you don't want to do, but I just want to give you the options and you know where to call me when you're ready. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much what got me started. My parents not really, not that they weren't involved, but typical. I'm Mexican and Latino household, parents always working, and
Yep.
I'm the oldest of three sisters, so taking care of the sisters, and didn't really have much. I also don't want to say parental supervision, but yeah, not really like guidance. I guess they were
Yeah.
also trying to navigate how to support, me and my
Yeah.
siblings, and really just trying to survive out here. And um, I kind of gravitated towards that and that lifestyle. And but ultimately, um, just knew what great, outcome came from joining these programs, being part of it firsthand. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I'm a
definitely.
huge advocate for that. And if it's not with Clean Slate, I'm just always referring clients out. It's
Mm.
whichever service. If it's not with me, if I'm not doing it for you, like please get the help elsewhere. And just for kids to know that and I say kids, but there's only like
I
25-year-olds in
know.
my program. I'm like, my kids, and I'm like
Right.
not that far off in age, but
I know, but it's like it's still so like these services. So for those that don't know, Santa Clara County has this incredible program and it's for what we call transitional aged youth, right? So what is that? 12 to 24, 12 to 20, something like that.
yeah,
Um
yeah, the 25.
12 to 25. So and right, like I call them kids
Mhm.
because I feel like everybody's a kid compared to my
Yeah,
age. But
no,
I think it what is important to note though is that from what I understand about Clean Slate Tattoo was this was created from a fellow gang member, right? That got off the streets and like and or he just I can't remember the story, but it was like something like the guy that created this was a gang member at some point.
it was no. So it was inspired by that story, but no, a lady named Mary Benson
Okay, okay, yeah.
wanted to help that population, but it was very geared toward gang impacted
Oh, it was,
youth.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
100%.
yeah, okay. Um, and this is like a place for those that and it's not just gangs, right? Like, there's also just whoever, maybe at a young age decide to get a tattoo on their face, neck, whatever, hands, and realizing that, for some of these kids it's like they just want to be taken seriously, or they want to be able to have a better start in like the working environment or things like that. And so their option, I mean, getting your tattoo removed is very expensive, and it's like each time, right? Because it's not just, oh, you go in once and then it's like there's sessions depending on, I guess, how old it is, how deep it is, I don't even know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like all those things, right?
All
And then
factors.
yeah, and then so it could just go on and each time, right? Like if I was to go and pay for it myself, like I would have to pay each time I went.
Mhm.
Um, and so for them though, this is completely free, right? But there are things that they have to do. What are those things that they have to do?
So they have to be compliant of the program, not get into trouble, not reoffend. We have a lot of probation referrals. If you're incarcerated, then you have to start all over with the application process and all that good stuff. Just because this is supposed to be like a clean slate for you, you know what I mean? And
Right.
it's we don't turn anyone away. We're just like, all right, let's try it again.
Yeah.
So yeah, and live a gang-free lifestyle. You need to attend life skills classes. So the way we
Okay.
have it set out is we have 8 sessions, and that's why you were talking about like the cohort and where we invited you to come in, and
Right.
um, there's just life skills for them. Where they're talking about mental health awareness, we give them a knowing your rights presentation, a healthy relationships presentation. You know what I mean?
Good.
So yeah, so life skills workshops, and they have to do 30 hours of community service.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, I mean, that's really good though, because I think it also helps them understand that there's these different avenues, right? Because as like a service provider coming in doing, I know that when I did the cohort, there was the woman that talked about domestic violence, and then there's also like substance abuse and things like that. So these are like really impactful presentations that we're putting in front of them, in order to just kind of gain some knowledge about what looks right, what doesn't look right, like kind of giving them an idea of like, how to actually put one foot in front of the other when it comes to having normal, healthy lifestyle relationships, and what that looks like,
Absolutely.
and for the clean slate tattoo though, it sounds like you take a lot of people that are do they, like, come find you, or is this something where you mentioned that, like, there's a couple, like, that get brought in through, like, maybe their probation officer, but obviously there's an indication from these youth, of change, that
Mhm.
they want some sort of change in their life. Can you talk a little bit about, like, what you're seeing as far as, like, just generally, like, the youth that come to you? What are some of the things that they're experiencing? Anything from group homes to, like, homelessness, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, even if it is a probation referral, it's
Mhm.
your body and you need to want and consent to it and to get treatment because it is a laser to the skin, you know what I mean? So
Right.
9 times out of 10, I would say 9.9 times out of 10, it's just self-referrals. So they
Oh,
call,
wow.
we outreach a lot,
Oh, okay.
my
Yeah.
coworker and I, we outreach a lot, and we have banners over the city of San Jose, and,
Mm.
just a general number that I get calls all day, all night, um, and a lot is through, referrals through probation or teachers or parents call, but a lot of it's like, yeah, I got tattoos. And, I give them the spiel of, they have to be qualifying, they have to be visible, you have to be between our age demographic.
Mhm.
And because we're from the city, has to be San Jose residents,
Oh,
unfortunately.
okay. Yeah, I
Limit
mean,
limited to.
yeah,
But yeah, and most of the youth, what we've heard is I can't find a job. That's really hard.
yeah.
Or I got it, or I did it myself, or I was 14 and I'm now 24 and regret it. Or I can't even go to the grocery store because it's gang related and I can't even shop with my kids or my mom or a lot of it is
Yeah,
ex's names. So we'll
yeah.
remove.
Right,
Right? So, yeah,
right.
it doesn't always have to be gang related. It could
Mhm.
I tell them it could be a butterfly you have on your neck that you got at right when you turn 18 and you're
Right.
now 24, 25, you don't want anymore. Or, we get
Right.
a lot, like military recruits that are like, military
Mhm.
side, removing my tattoos or, going into the medical field or, whatever it may be. I know tattoos are more acceptable nowadays to a lot of
Yeah,
professions, but a lot are still pretty, like, no, clean skin.
right.
So
I
we do
mean,
hear that a lot.
yeah, unfortunately, when somebody looks a certain way and then they have tattoos, it's just like it's even if the tattoos are like you said, like a butterfly or something
Yeah,
that's not even gang related, but they see it, especially if it's on a particular type of person that they're gonna go, this person's a gang member, or especially with boys, right? Like,
right, right.
and
Yeah, so
I
and
feel
we get
like
a
they
lot.
get the hardest hit.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah, absolutely. We service people that I do tell them when they come to the workshops and the life skills to be respectful because they're gonna be in a group of people from all walks of life, all types of ages, all types of colors, from all colors of the rainbow. So you have to get along with people from
Mhm.
black, white, red, blue, purple, pink. You know what I mean? And they're like, okay, okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll walk the ledge, transient youth as well. We get referrals from Bill Wilson Center, which is also
Yep.
uh, yeah, so homeless shelter for youth here. There's also another component to the program, Diana, that
Oh,
we help domestic
yeah.
violence and human trafficking victims. So
That's
that
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, and that's no age requirements. You could be well over 25 and anywhere on the body. It doesn't have to be visible. It could be on your ankle, on your back, on wherever, and you're exempt from the hours, from the workshops. It's just we want
Mhm.
that part of them to heal, and if that's gonna help them, then great.
Yeah. Are you kind of seeing more of an influx of, those types of participants, mostly with domestic violence and human trafficking, kind of, I don't know, within the past not year, since we just started this crazy year, but but maybe within the last 6 months or something like that? And are you seeing more of a are you seeing both girls and boys or just girls when it comes
Never gotten a male referral,
Oh,
not that
okay.
there isn't,
Right. Right.
but they've Yeah, 100% all been female, and they
Yeah,
get
okay.
referred to an organization that they're working with. So whether that
Oh,
be,
okay. Mhm,
uh, yeah, like uh, Next Door Solutions, or Women's Shelter, or House of Grace, whatever it may be, and
mhm.
um, yeah, so they have that support, and it's through their referrals that and it comes and goes. Sometimes we'll get
Oh, really? Yeah.
a big group, and sometimes there's months where we don't hear from these organizations, and
Uh-huh.
yeah,
No, that I mean, yeah, that's totally understandable. I mean, we're still dealing with, right, like people won't speak are still trying to find their footing, especially when it comes to leaving that situation or wanting help out or things like that. And I've tried to explain to people, when they go, well, why don't they just leave? Or, how
yeah,
come they always go back? And it's like, you see so many instances of different people doing this all the time in their life with different things. It doesn't necessarily have to be a domestic violence relationship, but it could just be a job that treats you like shit,
yeah,
like, why don't you leave that
yes,
job then? Like
yes,
I want to be able to point to people like, look at all these other different scenarios where you go, why do people still do this? And then you're just like, you have to, when you do this work, I'm finding um you don't just help the ones that come to you and then the minute that they leave to go back to whatever situation they came from, you just kind of wash your hands of them. It's the idea is because we cannot I mean, because it could be emotionally draining having this expectation that when they walk through your doors that they're going to stay in this program, you're going to help them, and and then they're going to start this big beautiful life and then go on their merry way, when humans aren't like that. And having that expectation that every person that walks in your door you're saving, or
right,
you're helping,
right,
and you can't, it has, I think the shift has to be because then people start to get bitter when they do this work and they go, I can't help anybody, or I give up because nobody.
outcome, yeah,
Right. Holding that outcome is the most dangerous part, I think, one of the most dangerous pieces to this job because it can really burn you out. But the idea is you have to walk alongside them and let them know. Like, even if you walk out of here tomorrow and just and go back to your normal everyday thing, like, I'm still here, like,
mhm,
regardless. And I think more people need to understand that even if you walk away one time, 5 times, 10 times, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm still here to walk this path with you. You just let me know when you need me to jump in, like that type of thing.
yeah. So what I tell the youth is, you already not necessarily know if right from wrong, but you know what's best for you. And I'm not here to tell you what it is, but I'm just here to give you the options or the resources for you to thrive. And like you were saying, Dana, like success is not linear. Like you'll
Right.
get the times where they'll mess up and they'll come back to you, and they'll open arms and like, let's start from square one.
So what do you think you needed at that age, at 15? Let's go back to like that kind of that age, because I remember myself at 15, what did I need? I just need somebody that understood, that had some understanding, like no judgment. Like that's what and like and just like like both parents worked, that like the main thing in this house was being able to provide food and shelter and
Yeah,
clothes, right? Like that's kind of just how our parents were raised, and then they were just trying to survive themselves. So I also was just out there, out there in the streets and just with whoever wanted to be my friend. Whoever was like, come on, we're hanging out, we're going drinking, or whatever. Like, forget that class. Let's just go over here, that type of thing. Because I feel like at the time I needed to belong to something. And I think that part of the gang affiliation is that need to bond and belong to a family type of thing, um, which is so dangerous, right? Because you get pulled into so many other things.
yeah.
And like you said, you had a relationship, like a whole relationship with somebody that did he wind up dying in front of you, or was this like something that you had found out about?
No, I found out,
Mm.
police came knocking to my door and broke the news
Oh,
to me, kinda trying to get information, and I was like,
Mm.
"No
Shocked.
way." Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
"What?" Yeah, and if I
Yeah.
knew where he was at, who might have been looking for him, right? And you're well, I mean, at least I was really underage not to speak to them, so I didn't.
Right.
But
Right.
probably wasn't much help, but
I mean, you were you still needed to live your life, right? And we're always taught don't snitch. So, it's scary too, right? Because you still have to go to school the next day and you still got to see people and you still got to be around people, right?
yeah.
And you already know whether or not they found out if you talk to the cops and things like that. So it's
Mhm,
like
mhm.
having that, and did your parents have did they know anything about your boyfriend at the time? Did they understand like the whole dynamic of what was going on?
Yeah, my dad grew up in that lifestyle as well, so he's very
Mm,
familiar.
mhm.
Um, and yeah, I remember even the following week or whatever when the grievance counselor came, like obviously I was very angry and I remember sharing like, oh, that's not where it ends. It's not gonna end there. Like basically we're gonna get our we're gonna get our get back, and I had to get talked to, and they're like, you cannot say stuff like that by like my peers, like,
Yeah.
girl, that I was just so angry and so upset. But my parents absolutely knew, and they were kind of like, my God, yeah, what are you doing? That's what happens. That's what how gang members end up prison and dead, or like what did you expect? And they're like, "Ah, you like dumb girl,"
Yeah.
basically telling me like, "Why are you crying? That's what happened."
Yeah.
Very tough, very like, okay, you know?
Right. No, that I mean, that happened to me. The one guy I was dating, he was absolutely in a gang and he wound up getting killed as well
Oh my gosh.
during a drug buy. And a friend of mine, I wasn't really staying at home. I wasn't really staying anywhere. I was just kind of floating around out here. Um, and I remember stopping by at my parents' house and my mom goes, "You have this message from your friend," like on the answering machine, back in those days. When there was answering machines. Um, that said, that he had gotten killed, and immediately got in with "Why are you crying for?" "Why are you crying?" He was in a
Yeah,
gang? That was like that was the biggest concern. He was in a gang, and it was like, "The dude's dead." Like,
yeah, yeah,
"Can he just die?" Like,
yeah. Let him rest in peace.
right.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, that whole thing just kind of I don't know, it does something to you, even though you may not have been necessarily like inside of it like that, just kind of like this is my boyfriend, he's in it, or just like with friends, like they're all in it. Like I was never part of anything like that, but like I knew people, and like a lot of people that I knew um were gang related. And it is just something that because I grew up in high school, it was 80s and 90s, and that was like top, I think, compared to all the other generations or decades that I've lived through, that was more of the gang related era, the 80s, the 90s. I feel like that's when gangs were at its most. But what are you seeing now? Are you kind of seeing like gang affiliations kind of dwindle downwards? Or are you still saying do you think that it's very prominent, like as prominent as it was maybe back in the 90s or something?
Yeah, so I just, working with this population, I'm like, man, you guys don't know about gang banging back in, that time was real, but not that, discrediting
Right.
what they're going through. But I feel like nowadays it is very different. It's just,
Mm.
you can say, I'm in a gang and that's it, you're in a gang. There's no,
Oh, really?
there's no
That's so
like,
funny.
how it was a whole, like,
Jumping in and
organization.
like
No,
having to
yeah,
do the
now
drive by or
yeah,
having to
now I'm like,
go and get
I'm
your get
driving
back on
by,
somebody else.
yeah, and I'm like, I've never seen those initials, and I'm like trying to decipher it, and then And I
Yeah.
did my little investigative work on social media, and I'm like, "Oh, it's new, like, it has 3 members to it that they're starting up or they're trying to." So I think it's a lot of youth that are trying to also
Do their own
do their
type of
own, and
thing.
they find that lifestyle so, like, appealing and,
Right?
you know,
Because they
to
do, right? Rap
yeah.
music or just
Yes.
music in general,
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
music videos, the
Yeah,
whole
yeah. I
social
don't feel like it
media.
was once what it was, but it
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
really? Okay.
it's still, like, a lot of the younger youth, also still trying to find their place, but I don't think it was as
Yeah.
bad as it was, like, when my boyfriend died, I think he was the city's I confused the number, 34th and 43rd homicide of the year, and
Oh,
now,
wow.
we'll get 1 or 2 a year,
Oh, wow.
So these
Uh-huh. Yeah.
gang-related homicides,
Side.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So it's like even back then when it happened, and I'm gonna let's see, that was like 17, 18 years ago.
Mhm.
So, it was a different time, and now it's like, okay, well, hopefully there's more programs and more resources and more maybe, different alternatives for
Yeah.
you to go to and to turn to, but
Yeah.
they still pop up here and there, and a lot of it's generational too. So a lot of the youth that come through the program because their family came through the program or they're referred by a dad or a mom or an auntie, whatever it may be. And yeah, a lot of it is generational. So it just
Yeah.
trickles down.
Yeah, definitely. And, like, you know, going around and just, trying to, I don't know, Eh, I think we're all just, like, as a race, just wanting to connect with people and,
Mhm.
like, find our place in life, find where we belong, who, like, what we wind up doing, and it's so confusing, and then when you have, like we just said, social media kind of, like, glamorizing the lifestyle, and
Yeah.
it's just like, "Why don't y'all make music videos of what it looks like in the pen?" Like, you wanna
Or
glamorize some shit, why don't you
yeah.
try glamorizing that, you
Or like
know?
me that I got a wake up call real early. And I was like, oh my God, it's not just thinking going out and looking cute and being with your boyfriend. Like, oh my God, he got stopped. I could have been in that park with him. What would have happened to you know what I mean? So that was just like a slap to the face. And it's like it's not all fun and
Yeah.
and
It's not all what they
yeah.
seem to be like, yeah, no, like, I've had ex-boyfriends go to jail, like, constantly violating their parole, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And there are still women, I would like to think that women we would can grow up and, like, learn from our mistakes and just kind of move on, but, like, there's still people still stuck in this. Like, they could be 70 years old and they're, like, old school veterano and they just want to still be like that, and it's like the '80s or '90s are done now, homie. Like,
yeah, yeah.
let's calm down, like,
Really,
we're all
really
old
do.
now.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's
but
who the kids listen to though. Like, they'll listen to their OGs and listen to their guidance, so if they're guiding them right or wrong, that's who they're gonna listen to.
and that's who they listen to. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like it's really hard because a lot of people have to remember what it was like for them, and they don't want to is the one thing. Um, which is leading me up to in order for us to realize what our youth kind of need today, we have to kind of go back into our stuff and go, what did I need back then? Because do you kind of feel like not just nonprofits, just kind of like services, do you think people are missing the mark, or do you think things are kind of reshaping itself to what the youth actually are looking for, you know?
Yeah, I think there is much more diversity now in different programs that have,
Mhm.
specialize in different things, but I can only, speak for myself as far back, like I said, the 17 years ago is very limited. And now
Yeah.
it's like, okay, like if I can't help you, let me refer you to this organization, this organization. I do think that um that is more accessible to the youth now, and the
Mhm.
resources are more than there once was. And especially now with social media, a click of a button. There's podcasts now. There's
Right.
podcasts now for you to listen in and be like, oh my God, I relate to that. Or what was that contact again? It's much easier now to get what you need and you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also in schools as well. I know schools do a lot of like referrals out, and I think schools have more of that mental health aspect that they once lacked. You have your counselors and whatever, but now it's like if if you need a little break from your class, or if you're going through it, you can go to your counselor and they can refer you out to these type of programs or these services. And I don't think it was like that always. You know.
Right. No, absolutely not.
Yeah, it was like, "Wow, you need a counselor, you need a therapist, like,
Go
what's
go
wrong with
talk
you?"
to, yeah,
Talk to the nurse,
talk to the
which
nurse.
not discrediting nurses, they're great, but the mental health, I don't
They could
know.
put a Band-Aid on me, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
not
And I
not
know,
an
go talk to the
emotional
nurse.
Band-Aid.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think it's really I definitely it has been great to see the different, I mean, just to find you guys, like,
Mhm.
uh, looking into you guys, like the Clean Slate Tattoo, and like how and why you guys came to be, and the population that you serve is like it is so incredible because when you go on the San Jose website, San Jose, I think is a .gov website or something, like you have you listed and then like all these other different, and I'm like, that's really cool because I mean, I know now like a lot of the funding is kind of, yeah, right.
Yeah, we're hurting.
Yeah, yeah. And I would hate to see, and this is the other thing. These are also the services that are first to get cut too,
Yeah,
because they just don't see them as, I don't know, significant.
high priority, it's not a need. Until
And
it gets cut and there's retaliation because of them cutting it, it's like, "Oh, wait, no, we didn't need
right, like
that."
it's so sad because I feel like we've come a long way since when I was out there hanging around in the streets. I mean, I went to James Logan High School, and we had kids from all over, right? Like we were one of the biggest high schools here in the Bay Area. Um, there was a point where they talked about banning like different colors. Like you can't wear the obviously, right, the first things that come to mind, red and blue. You can't wear red and blue. But like no, like it went there. Like there was pink. It's like,
It's a shade of red or something.
right?
Yeah.
There was pink. There was or wearing Raiders or 49er gear,
Uh-huh.
right?
Mhm.
Like that was another one. Like and this was like after my high school days. So this was probably around your time frame when they were just like, should we go to uniforms or no, you just can't wear
Mhm.
black, red, blue, white,
Yeah.
pink, green.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like I look at it from how that was and what that looked like for the time that I was kind of out here getting into trouble, and to what it's like now. And like now I'm about a year after my kid just retired from graduated from high school.
Like, what?
I'm like, he retired from school.
Awesome.
Just kidding. He doesn't have a job. He went back to school. Um, and it wasn't, and so I'm going back to my old high school to like pick him up and like, drop him off, pick him up, doing that whole thing. And I'm just kind of looking around. I was like, this just doesn't look like the kids that, I was in school with,
Mhm.
or the time period. But like you drive down a couple streets and then you kind of see like gang members coming out and just chilling. And it's like, do you time this on purpose? Like for when the kids get out and now people are hanging out on the corners and like, doing all that stuff. And I know that traffickers do because that's their biggest spot.
Recruitment. Yeah.
Yeah. Is right there outside of high schools, and people, whether they want to believe me or not, absolutely absolutely a
Yeah.
trafficker out in front
Oh,
of
yeah.
every kid's school at some point. Like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
where they go. Roblox and all that other stuff, right? Like the gaming system, social media. So it is important that these schools and these nonprofits have that space too in the schools, right? So it's not just all they're seeing as traffickers and gang members. Like there is a need for like some kind of representation from Clean Slate and all these other kind of service providers inside of the schools.
Mhm.
like having those conversations with the kids, letting them know that there's options for you. And and correct me if I'm wrong, but like I think that's the biggest thing kids actually need to see out here is that the options that they have.
Yeah.
Cuz how many times are they just seeing what's in front of them, which in their eyes is nothing good, right?
Yeah.
Nothing to pick up on and go for. Um,
Mhm.
it's just another day in this miserable community, probably the way they're looking at it. And I can't say that I blame them. Um, and I know these kids are so smart. Like they're absolutely so smart. And like, with all the smash and grabs and the store, robberies and gas station robberies and things like that. Like I always tell them it's like if you could only use that gift for good. Like
I always tell them, like, you guys are organized, you guys have structure, you guys have rules, you guys have
right?
right? Like, what is it? Like when they get DP'd, like
Oh yeah.
consequences, there's punishments. And I'm like, you have a whole system. Imagine getting
Yeah.
that organization to something positive.
Right, and, like, shifting to something positive because what
Mhm.
they're saying is that their community is not working for them, right? It's not working well for them. They can't find their stance in their community, so instead, they're gonna go out and create that for themselves in a very unhealthy way, right? So that's including joining gangs, tagging, doing the smash and grabs, like, that's their way to gain some kind of statue or something in their community, which I'm like, man, like there's so much to fight for, especially right now.
Yeah.
Like we are such in a dire situation where we do need more kids standing up for stuff because this is their future too. Like it's not just what it's going to look like for me when I'm extra old and gray. What's it going to look like for this transitional aged youth that are especially the ones that are on the 25 rising into their 30s, like what do you want it to look like, you know what I mean? Like I think that's such an important lesson for them to have, and I think the biggest part of why I come to these cohorts and want to talk about traumas and triggers and self-awareness and what that looks like and not wanting, you don't want to be a Karen out here on this internet to live
Yeah.
in infamy forever.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, Diana, they'll play too cool for school or whatever, and they're
Yeah.
kind of like, "Oh god, okay, okay." But you're planting that seed and those key points, and it's like, "Wait, what was that lady was talking about again? And what was her organization?" Or, it's like later on. So at least I'm just giving it to you, like I said, you just for you to know, for a tool for your tool belt. But a lot of times I don't know if they're just so closed off to it, they don't want to hear it. Oh god, we're talking about, trauma. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been through it, but it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why you're doing this, and that, and that's what they don't realize and until
That's it, right? Yeah, I guess they just I mean, I didn't realize it either. But I think you hit the nail right on the head. They just don't realize that.
Mhm.
And I think that's part of the reason why I do what I do is just because you may not have thought about it this way before, but there's a different way to look at this, um, which can help heal people,
Yeah,
because it gets people out of that victim mentality, right? Trying to like stop with the things keep happening to me, even though like things do happen, right? And life sucks. Life absolutely does suck, but there's also beautiful aspects of it. And I guess it's kind of hard to translate that to somebody who's hasn't seen that yet, right?
yeah,
And I think it could get kind of complicated by reassuring them that it can get complicated because when you don't see a different side of life, sometimes when you're not used to seeing the beauty of life, sometimes it can get hard to imagine it, and then you also kind of look at it like sus, right? Like
yeah. And a lot of the youth that's they all they've known is struggle and survival, and when you're telling them, oh, but there's jobs, and it's like, yeah, right, okay, until you do give them that. basically that resource or that outlet, even just to talk, even, talking therapy. Just, I'm here to listen. I'm here to listen out, like, a non-judgmental ear, and just be someone to talk. And that I think that opens up their eyes and expands their horizons. Like, you know what? Yeah, there is more than the hood. There's more than my street. There's more than my block, and the world starts opening up a little more.
I think that's so great because I just that is what's important to tell them, like, there's a whole big beautiful life out there besides your street, your block, your hood, like you said,
In
like
your back at all times. Like, there's places where you can go to and you don't have to do that, or you
yeah.
know.
Yeah. Um, and maybe they didn't know it at the time, but maybe they all of a sudden will get a travel bug or, find a way to explore what else is out there. And it can be so difficult to tell them, especially I think the biggest thing too, especially at that age, like of the teenage, you can't tell me shit. Um, right? Like
What
I'm
do
right,
you
you're wrong.
know?
You don't
Yeah,
know shit,
you
right?
don't know my life. You don't know what I'm going through.
Right. Exactly. And it's just like, correct, right? Like there is that. You're right. I don't show up in your shoes all day long. You are absolutely right. And trauma affects everybody different. And it
Mhm.
doesn't matter. Trauma is trauma. Like that's the bottom line. Um, I think they kind of pick up though on the I'm just gonna say it and you're just gonna do it. Like that whole like holding on to like what we talked about earlier, that piece of the outcome,
Mhm.
holding on to the outcome, and they don't need that. It's hard enough for them to be them, right?
Yep.
All day long. Um, but it sounds like Clean Slate Tattoo is just doing such incredible work, and I know like getting out there in your community and letting the youth in there just know that you guys are there, and just to have somebody like you to talk to is like so incredibly important because you don't come with those kind of like I'm going to judge you or any of that other stuff. It's just like just come and sit down and talk to me. Just tell me what's going on.
Mhm.
Y- let me see how I can, but ultimately also it's nobody's going to do it for you, right?
Yeah, meet me halfway. I'll give you the resource, but you gotta pick it up.
Right. I'm going to
Yeah,
put this right here and for whenever you're ready to pick it up, you just pick it right on up. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Uh,
great.
at my older job, the organization I used to work for before coming to Clean Slate,
Mhm.
I did a lot of guidance counseling at juvenile
Oh,
halls,
cool.
so working with that population, and I would tell them, I know you don't want to meet with me, like, but check this out. I'm another adult here, not to tell you what's right from wrong because you hear it from
Yeah.
the counselors in here, your TO, your parents, the judge. You know what I mean? I'm just here to listen to you. What's your story? What's going on? And you're like, oh, okay, and then that's when the change happens, not just do you need to do you need, so the pointing the finger and you know where you fucked up at and
Right.
they
Just
know
change. All you have to do is that's
yeah,
my
don't do
biggest
that.
pet
Don't do
peeve.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that moving forward. And it's like they
Yeah.
know, they already know, they know. So it's just listening to them, hearing them out. And
So
then
how
just
old were you when you, were doing the counseling at the juvenile detention
uh,
center?
I worked at the organization from the ages of 19 to 30.
So
So
you were young when you,
oh yeah,
started in this, like, you
yeah.
took your trauma and turned it into something.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. And some of the youth that I would, I guess talk to in there, I was dealing with stuff on the outside sometimes related to,
mhm.
whatever was going on in there. And it was very hard to draw that line and being a staff, when I was so close and some of these, and a lot of them are like, oh, what the hell is this girl going to tell me? Or how is
Mm,
this girl going to listen to me? And she's like, not that much older than me, and it's like, no, like, I'm coming from experience, I'm coming from,
yeah.
education, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was very hard at first, and then, as I got older, it was easier to draw that line and that boundary, and, um,
Mhm.
Yeah, no, so I was there for 10 years, and then I've been with the city with Clean Slate for 2
Oh,
years.
wow.
Same
Yeah.
same realm of work, just right now it's just tattoo removal, and prior to that, I was more case management, guidance counseling, all of that. And Clean Slate has a component to that,
Mhm.
I don't tell them, like, "You sign up and tattoo removal," and then it's like, "No, if
Yeah.
you need help with a resume, come in. If you need help with
That's
mental health,
great. Yeah.
piece them to the people that they need and resources." I'm like, "You're a client for life. Like, you have
That's
know where
incredible.
to find me." And I have clients from when I was 19 and 20 that, we're friends still, and we talk and we check up on each other and how are you? How are things? And
Oh,
yeah, so
yeah.
it's really nice. And clients that have grown up on me and now they're 21 and invited me, and I'm like, no, I still have to, there's a level to it.
Yeah.
They're in their adulthood now and having
How
families,
cute.
and yeah, so it's really nice. It's really nice. I think that's really rewarding to see, I guess, the fruit of that seed planted, and they're thriving
Yeah.
and living a good life, and ups and downs, sometimes I do
True.
like those bad news, but like you said, I can't take it to heart. It's not personal. It's not.
Right.
It doesn't. It shouldn't be disheartening. It's it sucks, but then it's like, okay, well then how can we help? You messed up. Like,
Mhm.
let's get back to it.
So then, okay, so I have a question for you because back, I don't know, a few years ago, I was like talking to this couple people when I was first starting, kind of like I had just moved back to California and I was trying to find something, right? Like to get into. And then I ultimately wounded up volunteering at the Asian Women's Shelter. But before that, like, I really was like, okay, what is this advocacy work? Like just kind of getting my bearings around like what that looks like, especially for youth, like especially for transitional age youth. And somebody had told me before that, especially if I go and say, okay, well, I would definitely be, everybody has their own style. So, like, I feel like I would be a different kind of advocate than you would mostly see out there when it comes to like people that work with CPS or with the kids in, group homes and things like that. And somebody had said to me, it doesn't matter. They think you all work for the police anyway.
Mm.
And I kind of went, I don't know that I know that that's true.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but what is like you said, you would walk into like juvenile detention and then just be like, okay, um, here I am, like I'm not like them. I'm not here to like take a report. I'm not here to like judge you or do anything like that. Like, is that what you found? And if you found that to be true, like what turned them like for you? Like what was it that, because to me when they go, okay, well they just think you're part of the police, that's telling me that they don't feel safe talking to me. So like how do we get them to be safe, if that
Yeah.
makes sense?
I think building rapport with them and they kind of talk with them themselves. So if I mess up with one kid,
Mhm.
mess for all of them. So if I say something that a kid told me in compliance and his PO all of a sudden knows, then there's my reputation. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
um, it was very like building rapport with them, and little by little, if at the first time you didn't want to talk, that's okay. I'm here to just, all right, let's focus on this, or what can I help you with, or let's do this little craft or whatever, which they thought was always so corny, but
Right?
it's just me easing my way in, and then yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's just building rapport and building that trust and not breaking that trust. Obviously, I do tell them, "I'm a reporter. There's some things you should not tell me," and or if you do tell me, I have to. You know what I mean? But
Right.
um, yeah, just building that rapport, and I think word of mouth and within the youth, and they're like, "No, no, no, she's cool, you can talk to her." Because some kids are like, "No, I'm not coming
That's
out of my
really
room,"
good.
or
Yeah.
because it's not it wasn't mandated to, they didn't have to talk to me, but it's
Mm.
like, hey, anyone available for one-on-one or whatever, or group, like I have like men's group and women's groups in juvenile hall. Um, I was like, "Oh, no, yeah, she's cool. She's cool. She's not like," oh, they would name other programs that they didn't fuck with or whatever. And
Yeah.
so
Because that's
that
the
worked out.
thing, right? How many times have they've gotten somebody in front of them that, I don't know, did the bare minimum. They just whatever it was, like, they just didn't connect
Yeah.
with them because and, and I feel like this needs to be some kind of, like, trauma competent type of training too. It's just kind of like you can't just go and sit in front of these kids and, like, pretend.
Yeah.
You can't fake it in front of them because
No
they will
ratio.
s yeah, real quick, right?
Mhm.
Like, if you're coming in just like just another person that's just gonna promise them shit
Mhm. Mhm.
or promise them that they're not gonna judge them or, anything that they say to them will remain confidential and then, I
Yeah.
mean, how many times have they had somebody do that for them, right? Like, do that to them. And then it's no wonder when people go, "I just can't reach them."
Yeah.
It's
Or
like,
we're not connecting, or they're unresponsive. And and sometimes it's not personal, it's just that it doesn't click with everybody. There's someone for
yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. Um, I think this has been really great. Thank you so much for coming in here and talking about this because I think it's important for people to fully understand that, these kids they need a lot and just like we needed a lot and parents also didn't get a handbook. So,
Yeah.
if it's like, I was at a baby shower and it's like any advice you could give, you are going to make a mistake. Just like
Yeah.
let it go. Like
Yeah.
that is my
Yeah.
advice to you is like love yourself, love that kid and just understand that you're going to make all kinds of mistakes and like forgive yourself and just
Yeah.
keep it pushing. Like
Have grace when you do mess up, because you will mess up.
yeah. Yeah. Right? Like, I mean, I can't, the eye rolls that I get, if when I walk into a classroom about and just want to talk about human trafficking, it's like, oh God, really? Um,
Really? Oh, no,
and
I would be like, "I'm all ears, please."
right. And then once I start talking and then going, did you know this happened in Oakland? Did you know this is going down all over the bit? And then that's when they go, oh,
Yeah.
because there is something, like they don't know what they don't know. And
Yeah.
then
People blind to it or choose not to see it.
right, right. Or they
Mm.
just don't understand like, what that is. But hopefully like I think it's again super important for collaborations like this, right? Like with the Medusa project, with Clean Slate Tattoo, with any of the other service providers throughout the Bay Area. I think this is how we maintain our strength and this is how we keep kind of like this strong like link um surrounding the kids in our community is building these types of collaborations because I know you can't do it all by yourself. I know I can't do it all by myself. So it is super important that we maintain collaboration, with people who are like-minded, especially when I mean, because there are going to be organizations out there that kind of maybe don't come into the future per se, just kind of keep with the same old stuff and it's like the world is always ever changing, life is always ever changing,
Solving. Yep.
trauma is going to be ever changing. So, the whole one bag fits all is not a thing. So yeah, I appreciate you coming in on the Medusa Awakening podcast and like talking about all this the great benefits of working with Clean Slate Tattoo. You guys are doing amazing work, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana. Likewise. Likewise.
It was good
Let me know
having
how you
you. Yeah. Hopefully I can convince you to come on here again. We'll talk about some other stuff.
Let me know.
Thank you again.
Okay. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you for listening to Medusa's Awakening podcast. Stay up to date on new episodes by following, liking, and subscribing to our pages. We are on Instagram at Medusas_awakening, on YouTube at Medusa's Awakening, and on TikTok at Awakening_Medusa_podcast.